by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining us in this segment is Vonna Crowder. Vonna is the Vice President of the Christian County Genealogical Society, and I have Sally Cray. Sally is the Publications Chair of the Illinois State Genealogical Society. I think I got them both correct. Good morning to the both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And did we get it correct?
You did get it.
Nailed it. All right. See, that is what we're hoping for right there. A good start to the thing here. With us coming in here today, we want to start with highlighting a big deal and a big program that you have coming up. And so, Vonna, I think we'll turn our attention over to you quickly here. A Family Research Day coming up on July 20th. Give us all the details, if you would.
It will be at the Pence Building at the Christian County Historical Society, and it'll be from 1 to 4. And you can come in and ask anything that you need to know. We can help you with several things. Do you want to start a family tree? Did somebody do DNA and you need some help? Do you need to know information on your grandparents? It's just kind of open. You can come in and ask whatever you want to ask.
In terms of starting a family tree, this isn't something that you're going to DNA swab me. You're going to go through the records and really try and put this together.
Correct.
So I would like to make that distinction known that we're not asking you to give us a sample of nothing. We want to just help put you together a little bit.
Correct.
And if you've done that DNA sample and you don't understand the results, we can help you map out those results and tie into those cousins that you may not know or recognize the names of.
And we were talking off air there for a moment about how a lot of times you do hit a roadblock. All of a sudden you're missing a connection or two, and that can throw off your whole family tree.
Everyone has a brick wall somewhere.
How does that? Obviously, there's a ton of records to back everything up and things of that nature. But when you hit that roadblock, how can we work past that roadblock?
We have many, many sources out there. We have the Taylorville papers, because most of the people will probably have local questions. We have the Taylorville papers on microfilm, but we also have access to the Decatur paper, the Springfield paper, and the Taylorville paper for some more current years. And census records. We have city directories. We have many, many resources out there to help you see if you can get over that brick wall.
My question to you then, how fun is that for you guys to just be able to dive into something like a census record from 1908, we'll say?
It's wonderful.
The census records have so many columns, and a lot of people don't realize that all of the information in those columns are very, very critical to what you want to find out. And, there's even a couple years that tell us how many children the woman has that lived and are currently alive in 1920 or have passed away. And so when you're trying to establish a family group, you know how many people that, you'll want to be able to find and look for to expand your search.
Some people think that they can do most of their genealogy online, which I have no problem with that, but you don't necessarily see, like Sally said, the whole census record. And I mean, that's a perfect example. It'll tell you where they lived. It will tell you how many children the wife had, whether it's the first or second marriage in some of the years. So, I mean, that is always just a big help.
My question to you then, because so many people go the route of a swab and send it in, and then all of a sudden I get an idea of what my family tree is. This to me sounds like you're able to go maybe just a little bit more in depth because you're pulling from the records. Whereas I might know who the grandfather is, but I don't know anything about him now.
Absolutely. We can put a lot of actual pictures and place him with the census records, city directories. You'll be able to go by the house or the property that he owned. And so a lot of times when you put something physical with that person that you only have the name on a piece of paper, when you touch something where they've lived or you've walked in their footsteps, kind of like downtown Springfield, when you've walking where Abraham Lincoln walked, it gives you a sense of establishing a timeline where those things happen in history and you're walking in those footsteps where history took place.
In terms of your family research day for you guys, what are you hoping if I come to you and I say, I need this help? What are you hoping that I get away with it? What are you hoping I take away from family research
day? An answer to your question. If you have a specific question, that's a big help. We can start you from scratch if you want. I mean, that's not a problem. We'll have several volunteers there. And then they also have some publications for sale. We have many publications for cemetery records. The society's been there for so many years. over 40 years. So they've walked every cemetery in this area. So, you might find a cemetery record for some of your relatives in a cemetery you didn't know where they were.
Sometimes they could be out in the middle of the woods now, completely
Absolutely.
overgrown.
Several of them are with the fence around them and the farmers are farming around them. Correct.
And can be so easily lost.
Correct.
That's why this is so important. I do have a quick question for you, and I'd love to get back to the Family Research Day. Young people aren't becoming as interested in finding out about their history and where their family comes from.
Right.
How do we get younger individuals more interested, more involved in keeping this history alive?
I wish we knew the answer.
Well, actually, next year, we're going to celebrate 250 years as a country.
Good
and
idea.
ISGS has a Prairie Patriot certificate. So if you have an ancestor that served in the Revolutionary War and lived or died or was buried in Illinois, we can have a certificate made. So your pioneer, your patriot is recognized, and you're establishing that lineage back to a patriot that fought for our country 250 years ago.
Our Christian County Society is working on a Patriot program. We don't have it completely finished out yet because this county is different than if you did the whole state. So we have so many towns that would not be in 1818 when Illinois was founded. For instance, Tovey and Kincaid and that area, because they didn't come into being until the 1900s. So we have to do it a little bit different than the state does with different levels. But we actually are working on a program. We hope to have it up way before next year with the anniversary.
I'm with the both of you, though. I think that type of connection to history, I think you might be able to bridge that gap a little bit.
Hopefully.
Yes.
And it stinks that you have to kind of hang your hat on something so big as the Revolutionary War or something like that. Not just how did we get there, but that is the type of thing I think that kids will gravitate towards. Oh, my great grandfather was this person, or he was on the Mayflower, or whatever the case might be. All of a sudden that clicks and you're interested. Sorry to take us off topic there, but
No, you're fine. No.
I was just thinking about that.
That's one of the topics. That's
it's
the beautiful
difficult.
thing about genealogy is that you can go down any avenue that you really want. You want to know who lived on that street, who served in that war, who was a tailor and who was, a farmer. That whatever makes it important to you is what you can focus your genealogy on.
Who left the state of Illinois and went west for the gold rush, or whichever different thing that happened in the history of the United States.
And when we think history, we don't think about all the other people. We always get the names. We get a couple big names, and that's what we remember. But maybe, just maybe, my great grandfather was out there,
correct,
in the mines going,
correct.
Or maybe my grandmother had 8 kids and 7 of them became politicians. Whatever the case might be, all of a sudden. I think connecting that with our history is something that you could really, really move forward with.
And that's also just a little hint of how sometimes you could focus on your tree and you don't find a lot because he was a farmer here in Christian County, but his brother might have been a legislature representative, or he might have been a banker and moved out of this county to another state. But sometimes you can do what's called the FAN, friends and neighbors, and you can find other hints of what happened to your family by searching the lateral line.
And when you think about the years that Lincoln was here and when he went through the state doing his speeches, if you've got ancestors that were in those areas, chances are they went and listened to Abraham Lincoln give a speech. And when you think about, walking in those footsteps and experiencing history firsthand, that brings it alive for people.
And not to mention that Abraham Lincoln did several court processes here in the Christian County Courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found out that also too, then over at the Christian County Historical Society, we decided that maybe we would like some of those things to be out there on display.
Yes.
Right.
And there's a famous story of the pig, which at the square, they have a picture of Lincoln and a pig on their courthouse square in Taylorville.
Mm-hmm.
And you can for me, I think it's so cool to be able to see that come to life for you. And I think a lot of people, if they just got their hands on a start to a family tree like this Family Research Day is offering, I think that interest all of a sudden just it sparked and it can click for them. Joining us in studio here today, before I forget to take a break, because I will, Vonna Crowder, Vice President of the Christian County Genealogical Society, and Sally Cray, Publications Chair for the Illinois State Genealogical Society. Joining us here in studio. We'll be right back around. We'll talk more about their Family Research Day coming up on July 20th out at the Christian County Historical Society. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
WTIM. Your information station, WTIM.
And we're back with the WTIM Morning Show here on your information station. We're brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Back around in this segment, Vonna Crowder, Vice President of the Christian County Genealogical Society, and Sally Cray, Publications Chair for the Illinois State Genealogical Society. We've been talking a lot about the Family Research Day. We want to go right back to it. We want to double down on it. July 20th out at the Christian County Historical Society. We can start your family tree. Take me away from there, though. What else is going to be involved in that time from 1 to 4 p.m.?
Any question that you have, we're happy to help. Maybe you do not have an obituary of your grandfather. Let's see. Maybe there was a family story that you'd heard and you weren't sure if it was true or not. And we can search the newspapers and see if we can find it for you.
That sounds like fun to me, because I'd like to do a little myth busting. There's a lot of things that become a little inflated
Correct.
over time when it comes to that. For your Family Research Day, is this something you do yearly?
We usually try to do a program once a year. We do other programs also. We do a cemetery walk every year. We do this program every year. Last year, or the year before, I can't remember. We had a DNA speaker. We just try to vary it through the years of different things, but at least once a year, we'd like to have a family research day.
I think a cemetery walk would be fun for me, and I think others would find that it's actually an enjoyable thing to really see. When you see a child's gravestone, or you see they live for 9 months, and you go, what happened? How can we, and you do something like that, I think it changes your perspective on these people, that they were living to survive. It's a totally different world that we're in today. And I think the world of being able to put that into perspective for people. One thing I'd like to do is kind of separate two entities that are kind of together, being the Historical Society and the Genealogical Society. We are two different people. We are two different things, but we're working together hand in hand. Could you explain that relationship for us?
Our library is in one of their buildings at the Historical Society. They're open 3 days a week. If you would like, you can come in and go through our library, but we do have one staff member there on Saturdays. You can go in and help yourself and look at any of the publications or anything that you want, while the Historical Society is open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
That is really cool. I don't know if I knew that part of it as well. And really finding these records and things like that. What got you guys interested? So what made this pop for you?
That's a long story. My father's father came here from Ohio, and supposedly, according to them, they thought he was the only person in that family line that was in Illinois. And his dad died when he was 12. So they had this one family photo that supposedly was the family that I'd looked at my whole life, but we didn't know who any of them were. We knew which ones were related, but we had no idea. And that was always just, and my dad was interested in history, but I just always wanted to know who was in that photo.
Mm-hmm.
And for you?
And for me, I came from a very small family. And by the time I was born, I had one sister, my parents, one aunt, and one uncle. And I never got to meet either sets of grandparents. So I didn't even have pictures, and I had a few stories, but they didn't like to talk about it because they had lost their parents very young. So I recreated my family history because I had nothing to start with. And now that I have the names, the places, and I've been able to understand some of the things that I found in the house, I know that those are family treasures. And I can say that I'm from these different places, and it all ties back. I can confirm it with my DNA, and it's really very grounding, and it gives a person a sense of purpose to know that they exist because of all of these relationships that happened years before them.
The reason I ask is because sometimes we can't think outside of, maybe right past here. And the reason I ask is, somebody has to have a moment. You had to have a moment where you went, all right, this is something I'm going to dig into. I'm going to really find out.
Right.
That moment for you could be the Family Research Day on July 20th, where we start your family tree and get you on this path of learning your history and your background.
Correct. To add to my story is similar to Sally's. I had, by the time I was 6, I didn't have any grandparents alive because my parents were older. And so ours was this tiny, small family. There was just me and my brother, but there was no relatives except my mom had one brother. We had no relatives growing up. So we didn't have these big family Thanksgiving dinners. It was just really small. And I wanted to know who the rest of that family was in Ohio on Dad's side.
Right.
And it's crazy to me how different that is for me on this side. Normally, I try not to talk about myself here, but I have a big family. I've got a lot of extended family. And so you can just see that difference, though, for other people. For me, it might be, who the heck are these 150 people that I don't know?
Sure.
Whereas maybe it's, I got to find out just about anybody. Where is my family? So it can be two very different sides of that aisle or that story. And putting it together at the Family Research Day on July 20th might be the best way to get your start or continue on in your search. Vonna, Sally, thank you so much for your time here today on the WTIM Morning Show.
We really appreciate the radio station and all they do for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And that is on this end as well. Sally Cray, Publications Chair for the Illinois State Genealogical Society. Vonna Crowder, Vice President of the Christian County Genealogical Society, here on the Morning Show. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.